Partly now I'm actually rooting for the Lions because I want to see what involvement we could get. Because if it's Eminem on one side and Taylor Swift on the other, oh my goodness, white America's going to go crazy. So...
Yo, we are back. Special episode of Fax The King. The Butter King is currently, I think he's in Australia. So, had to have a guest on, and I have one of my really good friends going on. I don't even know how many years now we've been friends.
At least 20 plus.
20 plus.
At least.
But I got one of my childhood friends, Spencer Robinson. I want you to plug your podcast, and we're going to get right into the show.
Sure. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I 0 years of NFL experience, 4 years in D3 at Catholic University in Washington. Shout out Cards. But I watch football with the best of them, so I'm here for that. I do a podcast, much smaller production than what y'all got here, but I do a podcast with my cousin Ross, S.P. and Ross's Untitled College Football Podcast. That is the title. Go check that out. If you guys like college football, fans of this podcast, I think would enjoy what we do. But really happy to be here. And yeah, like Nate said, friends of over, at least going back to middle school days. So we're fathers now, or about to be.
Yes. So we're going to get right into it. On our show, how we usually start the show, we do Torque Talk, and Torque is just something that you're excited about, and I wanted to get right into it and say that I'm torqued that you're about to be a father. My daughter is just turned 4 months a few days ago, and I know you're about to be a first-time father, and I know how much I'm enjoying it, and like how much the whole going through the pregnancy and it's coming to the end. So I'm torqued for you to go through everything, but I just wanted to hear from your perspective what's been going on and maybe what you're torqued about with this whole situation coming up.
Yeah, absolutely torqued, fully torqued to be a dad. We know it's a boy. We will get to meet him next Friday. My wife is she's a nurse. She's a NICU nurse. So she has some professional experience when it comes to newborns and babies. And so going through this whole pregnancy, she's been like a WebMD, or just like she's in tune with her body, her symptoms, what she's experiencing, what she's not experiencing, like where the baby's positioned. When we go to get the ultrasound, she's talking to the nurses doing the scan, like, telling them what they're looking at. So I'm really blessed and fortunate from that standpoint. Also a great girl, so I'm just generally lucky. But watching you and Mariah go through being parents, and some of my other friends who are either first time or recent parents, just experiencing it and watching you guys go through it, I'm excited to get to it and get to those phases and see them grow and see them start to talk and walk and kick and all those things. So like I'm fully torqued for just the whole experience. It's me and my sister, so first kids in our family, parents, first time grandparents. So just excited for just everyone, my family, my friends, everyone, and to be a dad, man. Just can't wait.
No, it's going to be awesome. Can't wait. And then you're having a boy. Like how exciting, how super exciting is that? The fact that your first child, you're having a boy, and just the thought of, sports or potential sports or whatever he wants to be, like that aspect. Just touch on that real quick.
Before we knew the gender, I didn't care which way. Like I just, I know everyone says this, but it's true. I just wanted happy and healthy and all that. And then we found out it was a boy, and everyone in my family was saying that they knew that's what it was going to be, and that's what I should have, and that I would be better suited for the first child for it to be a boy, and that's more in line with my personality. And so I'm like, I feel like I have some experience knowing what it was like growing up, being a young boy. So at least I could tap into some of that, whereas it might be a little bit harder, having a girl. You have to kind of learn or experience, or maybe lean more on your wife's experience, just because like I know what it was like to be young, but I don't know kind of what puberty for a girl is like, or some of this is different sets of conversations. Or so I just felt I at least have some experience being a kid before and being a young boy. I'm definitely excited about any sport like he wants to get into. If we're talking about where the money's at, play baseball, play soccer, pick up a golf club, tennis club. Like I'm just gonna put everything in front of him and whatever you gravitate toward and are good at, I'm gonna support it. But yeah, just sports, art, singing, whatever it is, I will be I'm not gonna be the helicopter crazy parent, but I'm going to be the supportive one that whatever you choose, I want you to be really, really good at it. Dedicate time to it. But I hope it's sports. We got a baseball field right outside our house, so he can start right there.
I'm excited that we're having children like around the same time. That's just excited for the future, potential taking trips, family trips with the kids and things like that. That's going to be exciting. But let's get right into it. And first, to start off, like we were saying earlier, we've been friends for a long time, and we met through school, and I went to a prep school. We both went to a prep school in Connecticut called KLHT. It's now called King. And Spencer, for high school, his parents, he actually moved down to Virginia. So unfortunately, we didn't get to play high school sports together.
Just 1 year.
Oh, yeah. Just one crossover year. Yeah. Talk about that transfer in high school, leaving Connecticut sports, coming down to Virginia sports.
Yeah. So we actually met Don Bosco AAU days, right before you came to King. I was on a travel AAU team in Connecticut. Nate and some of our other friends right over the border, Port Chester town, right in New York, right in Westchester area. So there were two big teams, Connecticut Flame at the time and Don Bosco, for all the New York kids and the CT Flame. So it was like the two best teams and all the best players in those areas. If you're from New York, you're on the Don Bosco. If you're from CT, you're on the Flame. So we played a couple times, those two games, scrimmage, played some games. I think the next year you came to King, right? I think I was 7th grade. I think you were 8th. So played some middle school together, play high school, 1 year high school football, 1 year high school basketball. Football, my freshman year, that was right before we really have a quarterback. No offense to anybody. Like you would play some quarterback. Like we just had to put athletes at quarterback and just kind of get the best. You guys have to no shots. We just had to put athletes at quarterback, right? Like we did not have a pure passing option, but we had athletes. So yeah, we had sets where Nate, who would go on to play D-line in the NFL, would be our quarterback. But we would go, like you said, smaller prep school. For our school, for the size of it, we actually sent 3 people to the NFL. So shout out Coach Gow and shout out, King for that.
KPL and
Silas. And so for a school of about 60 to 70 people for a graduating class, to have 3 people go pro off one high school team, pretty impressive. But after my freshman year, like you said, my dad got a job. We moved down to Virginia. And, my parents, who's 2 or 3 weeks before school. So we're trying to figure out, and they wanted to keep us me and my sister in a private school because that's where we came out of. And so we were looking around different schools. My mom had worked in administrations at King, so was going to try to look and get a job at a school and we could go there. And one of the places that she was able to get an opportunity at was called Collegiate down in Virginia. It's a prep school.
And to your behold,
yeah. So
you went
I know nothing about the school.
You went from me playing quarterback to walking into a locker room, and who was your quarterback?
Our quarterback was Russell Wilson. So I went from having him play quarterback to a future Super Bowl winning potential Hall of Fame quarterback. But I had no knowledge of that going in. Walking into the school, just took a tour, kind of met with some people. There was actually a kid from Connecticut, Devin, shout out Devin. He was from New Canaan. He had went down there, so they had me meet him first, thinking, they'll have something in common, both from the same place, came down here. So I met with him, told I play football, play basketball, want to play sports. So like, cool, we're going to take you around, look at everything. And then it was like second week of preseason. So at the end, they took me out to the field and they were like wrapping up a 2-a-day. If I ended up going there, I was going to join them right away. So I go out on the field and I meet the team. I'm meeting a couple of people and they introduced me to Russell. And this school, it's about 100 people per class. Not a lot of black people, okay? Just mostly white people.
Okay.
So Russell, very excited that there's another brother coming into the school. Just, we don't know anything about each other right off the bat, but just like another brown face, cool. So I meet him and I'm hearing these stories before I've ever really seen him play or whatever. He had went to Peyton Manning's camp the year before, and there's stories that from the 50-yard line on his knees, that he threw the ball and hit the goalpost. hit the back of the goalpost in the end zone. He's a 10th grader. I think he's a freshman at that time. So just crazy stories about strong arm, super athlete, getting recruited. Brother plays college football. Dad played college and was in the NFL training camp for a little bit. So super athlete. First practice, probably the next day or a couple days later, just some warm-ups, just routes on air, little 5-yard in, slant. That was the hardest ball I've ever seen. Just a laser on a slant. And the sting, the hit of the hands, like I got great hands. I don't drop anything, but it hurt, right? Just hit it, boom, sting. And I'm like, wow, okay. Like I've never seen anybody throw a ball like that before.
Did you catch it?
I caught it, but it hurt. It hurt. And it's like the first time I'd ever caught a football and be like, that hurt. Right. Wow. So it was just like, wow. Okay. So that was kind of the introduction to him, his athleticism, the story. And then, of course, we go on to play. His sophomore year, he actually had the split time at quarterback just because we had a player who was older than him. Shout out Jarvis. Really good athlete, really good quarterback. In any other situation, he could have been a starting quarterback, but he just happened to have an NFL quarterback behind him, right? So he would split time, but when he would go in, it was clear athleticism just on a different level. Like the way he plays in college and in the pros, where he would just drop back 10 yards, scramble all around and hit somebody. It was like watching him do that in the NFL, to me, was like, that's what I watched him do in high school. So the fact that he did that in the league was just kind of one of the more incredible things, being like, that's how he played in high school. So imagine being a receiver with 15 seconds to get open and you're just doing the scramble drill because he's going to keep the play open and you can run as deep as you want because you're never out of range for him to reach.
Never out of range.
So I tell people it was the easiest time playing receiver. As soon as you're open, he's going to know it. He's going to get you the ball. And it was some of the most, we were back-to-back state champs, undefeated my junior year. So it went from King, which was, we were like a 500 team, right? Like, so it went from that to 2 state championships, playing with Russell. So it was my favorite part about the school.
I've never asked you this. You were a 2-sport athlete. Did Russell play basketball?
He did. He played all 3. He played basketball. Obviously, he played baseball already. Got drafted,
yeah.
But he did. But he did play basketball. And that was the thing, actually, you heard, like, there was talk about him getting drafted out of high school for baseball, regardless of where the football stuff went. But he did play basketball. He's a point guard. And he played point guard kind of a lot, like he played quarterback in terms
dropping dimes,
great court vision, dropping dimes, good defender, right? Because he's a super athlete. Like he could have played cornerback, like if he wasn't determined to play quarterback because he knew, but people were knocking his height. Yeah. So there were a lot of schools, Bama and Miami, a lot of these big schools are like, you could come here and play D-back, like D-back.
Yep.
He's like, no, I'm a quarterback, and I'll show you guys I'm a quarterback. But defensively, he's a good defender, basketball, because he's lateral slides, long arms, strong. But it wasn't the greatest shooter. Handles were okay, but court vision, he had it.
That's
and defensively,
lit. It's crazy because after my junior year in high school, me and Russell, we happened to be at the UVA football camp together. And the weeks we were at the camp, I guess, were the premier weeks that the coaches were really having all the guys that they were potentially recruiting. But it was also like the 7-on-7. So there was teams. But, like, they had a handful of guys that weren't there with a team, with Russell being one of them, and he ended up being the quarterback on my 7-on-7 team. And we ended up making it to the championship and lost that week. But I remember that week distinctly because he kept saying, yo, this is my dream school. But
it was.
But they're telling me.
They wouldn't recruit him.
They're telling me they're switching their quarterback dynamic because at the time it was Biscuit and it was kind of like a small running, big arm quarterback. And for whatever reason, they were saying that they were going to try to find like a stand in the pocket pro style quarterback or whatever it may be. But always stuck with me in my head that Russell was at that camp with me. And all he kept saying is, he's like, yo, I really want to go to this school. This is my number one school. This is the school. And to think about, if I went to college and he was our quarterback, it's crazy.
I was gonna say he really wanted to go there. That was the biggest kind of like I don't know if I shouldn't say they offered him. I believe that was another situation where like, do you want to play D-back? Do you want to play a different position? It's like no. He would tell everybody no. Quarterback. But could you on those teams if Russell was your guys' quarterback, because you guys had really good defenses. Like we talked about this.
I
Your
couldn't even
defense had a lot of pro
bro.
players.
I couldn't even
If
imagine.
you put Russell on that, you guys could have competed for an ACC title for sure.
But it's crazy, like talk about how small of a world it is, because you played basketball like for collegiate, and you guys actually played against Stab, which is the local college prep private school in Charlottesville that Chris and all his brothers, Kyle and Howie, went to. And so you actually got to play against Kyle. Tell me about that.
We played football against Kyle my junior year, first game of the season at Stab. We actually went up a week before. I think they had one game before us. We went up a week before, and this was, again, mostly spearheaded by Russell, which should show you that he has had a professional mentality.
He made you guys come scout.
We drove up an hour to go scout the week before, and this wasn't like rare. We would do this a lot. We watched more film in high school than I think some college. Like, it was just a next level of preparation. Part of why our team was so good, because size-wise, we would get outsized and out-athleted, but an occasion, not that we didn't have athletes, but no one was more prepared. No one watched more film. No one knew tendencies better. We were just on it. We knew what you were going to do and would plan, scheme up against it. But we went up there to scout them early. Went up the week earlier, and Stab had really nice field, lights. Their locker room is like kind of up a hill, so they come down a hill to their field. And we're watching them come down, and there's this one kid who is much larger than all the other kids, way larger. And we knew Chris had gone there. Chris is at UVA at the time. He's everyone in Richmond are in he's probably the biggest local star at that time at UVA. So we know his family goes through there. Know Kyle's there, but just see him come out. And I think he played O-line for them, but he would get the ball sometimes. He'd play tight end. It's high school. So you just get your best players in positions. And just saw him, and we're like, God, good Lord, man. Like that. Because, all right, he's I don't know how much bigger he got between then and the NFL, obviously, and college. But he was still a mountain of a man. But our coach, as he's walking out, as they're warming up, he goes, yeah, that's Kyle Long. He's going to play baseball at Florida State. I'm like, what? Baseball? For what? Like, I'm sure he's great, but you gotta be kidding me. Like, look at him. Like, we just going to play baseball. Obviously, that didn't go that way. Detour ended up JUCO, then ended up at Oregon. But all that, like, when I finally then saw him at Oregon, because once he went to play baseball at Florida State, I don't follow college baseball.
Yeah.
But then I see him at Oregon probably like 2 or 3 years later, and I'm like, there you go. That makes more sense. That's what he should be doing. That's what he should be doing. But we got the win. But I do remember just being concerned that he could ruin both our offensive and defensive line, that he's just going to ruin our game plan. Like, we got to figure out. So I don't remember how exactly we kept him from doing that, but we got the victory. We got out of there.
Lit. All right. Enough reminiscing. You're going to be my college football expert right now, and I want you to take me through a little bit of this Florida State and ACC drama that's going on right now.
It's juicy. It's juicy drama. It is over large sums of money, and so it's a convoluted thing, but I'll try to do the simple version. So from Florida State's side, in I think 2016, and then they extended this deal. But when the ACC signed a terrible long-term deal with ESPN, like all those business schools in the ACC, and nobody knows how to do business, signed a super long-term deal locking them in with ESPN and ACC Network from now until 2036. And I think they extended that deal, I want to say 2002 or 3, like very recently. They extended it because the deal ended. All right. So 2036 is when the grant of rights, which is essentially the conference gives ESPN the rights to broadcast all ACC competition.
Okay. That
runs through 2036. Because they locked in at old rates too long ago, before the entire media game changed, where now everything is the streaming age is here, conference realignment is here. Big business, big money, college football is here. and the ACC is locked into a deal that looks like the market did 15 years ago. They are getting out-earned by SEC and Big Ten counterparts about $40 million a year annually. So like Illinois and Purdue make more than Florida State off their television rights because the Big Ten and the SEC have better television deals.
Damn.
So FSU is livid, right? They granted they signed this, and at the time they signed it, all the ACC schools wanted was a home. They weren't thinking, forward enough about what the landscape could be. FSU is kind of in a situation now where to leave the conference could cost $500 million with a B, $500 million, because they might have to leave their rights behind. They might have to leave their television rights behind, which if this is all about money, that doesn't make any sense, right? But they might have to lose their television rights. The exit fee is about 120 something million dollars to get out of the ACC.
Yep.
That's in part because Maryland in 12, I think they settled on like a $30 or $40 million buyout.
Oh, Maryland
ACC said never again. Like, we want to make it impossible. Yeah. Never again. We want to make it impossible for these teams to get out.
The Terps did leave. Were they the first one out? They were the first ones out.
They were the first ones to leave. They went to the Big Ten. Like I don't know if they saw this, but for what they got
had
out.
to.
they had the vision. No one else has. So Florida State is essentially challenging the legality of the grant of rights. Is it a legally binding document? And do they have to abide by it? Is there any way they can leave? The problem is that there's no home, right? Where do they go? Because what Maryland was able to do is find another conference home. No one really wants Florida State. SEC has their Florida footprint already. Big Ten doesn't want them. Big 12, maybe. Are they going to go to these lower group of 5 conferences? Probably not. So just from the Florida State standpoint, they're kind of fucked. It's just like they signed this thing, and the argument is you signed it, and you benefited from it up until now.
You know who they need help from to spearhead this?
Who?
Send in Jameis Winston.
What do you want Jameis to
do? just have Jameis be like, Jameis, we need help negotiating this. We need help getting out of this contract or making this right. And I feel like he could do it. Like, but it's funny always in business when when you sign a contract that you don't like.
Now you don't like it, and so the ACC's side of this. Because they filed a complaint a day before Florida State went after the ACC saying it's a conflict of interest. Like Florida State they're essentially sabotaging the ACC. They're hurting this conference by what they're doing, by threatening to leave, by publicly saying these things. It is a conflict of interest. And they have, this ACC saying they benefited. Florida State has benefited. Our revenue has gone up over the last 9 years by whatever percent, which is true, but it's just comparatively to the rest of the country. Yeah, that's peanuts. So I don't see how this gets resolved cleanly. Like me and Ross talked about it on our show, that the best solution I see is negotiating a exit fee that is less than the 120 something million dollars that the price currently is now.
Go in there and tell them, well, hey, we don't got we don't got 128, we got 75.
We'll give you X amount. Will that suffice? Can we pay to exit? But then there's the like, can they keep their rights? Can they take without your broadcast and television, like without your broadcast rights, this is all for nothing. And then Florida State also said they don't want to go independent. So I don't know what they're going to do.
I was just about to say, you know what this sounds like? This sounds like an unhappy artist, an artist that signed with a label and they were very excited. They were young. They were very excited to be on the label and getting the clout and the notoriety and a few songs out, hearing your songs on the radio. But then when streaming comes along and the radio plays is not equaling the same amount of money, you realize if you leave, I don't own my masters.
Right.
So I'm either going to have to leave and start all the way over, probably go broke and start all the way over and figure it out, or I got to suck it up.
Yeah, and this is a money play, so I can't see Florida State accepting or doing anything where they don't keep their television rights. It's just that's the whole point of this. And if they're not going to go independent, right? Which Notre Dame seems to be the only school who is consistently killed the just being independent route. But if Florida State's not going to do that, are they going to join the AAC or like, what? I don't know how this gets resolved, but I know it cannot stay like this until 2036.
Yo, it's so crazy just us getting older and like hearing a school, like how we're talking about a school like FSU and like how no one it's not that no one wants them. It's just like, hey, do we really have room for y'all, or what do y'all really bring to the table? And like when we were going through college, FSU was a powerhouse, bro. They're a powerhouse. Miami was a powerhouse. It's crazy just the dynamic. The ACC was a powerhouse because of these schools. And like it's crazy the shift that was happening, and then now the shift with the NIL and people trying to leave. But to me, I'm just surprised. 128 doesn't sound that crazy of a number, just thinking about the type of alum that FSU probably has. That's my thing. It's just like, yo, figure it out. If you guys really want to leave, you got to figure it out. But it is going to be something to watch, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Them getting left out, Florida State being left out of the college football playoff, accelerated what I think was a decision that might have came anyway. At some point, Florida State was going to want to address, we are in this terrible deal. But I think once they woke up, or that Sunday or whatever day it was where they got left out of the playoff, that was the last straw, right? I think they felt that was a perceived snub at the conference as well. And Jim Phillips and then the commissioner before him, they're not doing enough for the conference. They're not good enough at business. They weren't out there rah-rah waving pom-poms to get these ACC schools in these better bowl games. So it was going to happen, but leaving them out of the college football playoffs accelerated it for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll have you on again when some more breaking news about this stuff happens, which will be coming at some point. But let's get into my favorite segment, Fast Facts. I'm going to lead this segment, and I'm going to fire off some viral moments, and I'm just going to get your opinion on it. Jump in whenever you want. Here we go. We're going to start off with 25-year-old Cam McCormick returning to Miami for a 9th NCAA season. How do you feel about this?
I love it. Shout out to you, Cam McCormick. And as somebody who graduated at 24, right, at the little super duper senior time, being the old man on campus was not that Van Wilder experience that I grew up thinking it was going to be. But, I'm happy for him. I know he had a tough injury bout, right? I think it was the same recruiting class, Jalen Hurts. So he's that old. So, but he had, you want to play that one last year of football, like if this is your last opportunity, bad injuries. And, maybe he still has free meal swipes and meal plans, and he's going to come out with all types of degrees. So salute to you, Cam.
That is lit. Shout out to Cam, and hopefully by the time he leaves out of there, he has a few degrees, a master's degree, all that. Shout out to him in his 9th season. Next up, we have the Ravens. Huge fans of Uncrustables. It is told that the Ravens eat 30 to 60 Uncrustables a day, and that is totaled up to 7,500 a season. Are you a fan of Uncrustables?
Love the Uncrustables. Used to work at a travel job where I would sell things in Costco, and at Costco is really where I was introduced to the Uncrustables, so I did a little research here. The Uncrustable, the large box of Uncrustables at Costco, it's 18 in a large pack. If you bought 416 of those boxes, apparently that's how much the Ravens go through, over 400 boxes of the large Uncrustables as a team. I get it. It is a great snack. It's a PB&J without the crust on white bread. It's like you could on the go.
Chef's kiss.
Perfect snack. So I can see how you're in a facility all day, just grab an Uncrustable, get to your meeting. Like I totally get it.
I wonder how if they buy in bulk and they just have a freezer just full of those boxes.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you have 416 boxes, like maybe they're not all buying them at once, but like where do you keep? Like they just must have to have just every week a shipment gets dropped off or something. I don't know.
That's hilarious. Next up, Buffalo kicker Tyler Bass deactivates all of his social media accounts after missing that devastating kick. Do you think this was the right thing to do?
Yeah, I think he's smart. I think he's getting ahead of it. I think he knows what's coming. It's a cruel world for the kicker, right? You have one job. If you don't do it, Everyone's coming for you. I know as football players, we don't like kickers. They're their job and element. I know it's called football and we kick off and we punt, but just what football actually is, which is just big, huge guys crashing into each other, trying to get open, throws, running, just the sport itself. And then how we decided is, let's let some soccer player come out here and try to kick this to the uprights, and that's going to determine who won the most violent game in the world. It makes no sense. It's the equivalent of a basketball game being decided by, a putting contest or any other sport that just is not basketball. So that would be my beef. But leave the man alone. Leave his family alone. I know he didn't do his job, but you guys out there, how would you like it if every time you were bad at your job or missed something or didn't do something right, you had your DMs flooded by people who just called you every name in the book? You would hate it.
Wouldn't like it. But the sickest thing is, I don't know how you can possibly do this, but there's people that are waiting for him to activate that, whether it's 5 years from now, so they can get their shit off.
That's the thing. Does he ever reactivate it? Is he just going to wait till it dies down and people have forgotten about it?
Got to make a crazy burner account that no one can ever figure out. That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
Next up, Australian Open 16-year-old Mira Andreeva bit herself to motivate herself during a match. Have you ever bit yourself to get motivation during a sports match, bro?
No, I've never bit myself for anything ever. I saw it, and apparently she did rally back to win that match, so it worked for her. Salute to her. She apparently knew what it took to get herself back focused. I don't know what the correlation between the pain and focusing up was, but it worked for her, and shout out to her.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Shout out to tennis.
Yeah, I know. Shout out to tennis.
Great sport.
But I really don't even know what else to say about it. So we're going to move on. Caitlin Clark.
Oh, man.
Trucked by fans storming the court. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, so we saw that the other angle or the faraway angle that showed us everything, okay? So I'm not anti-court storming. I get it. I'm not even going to be the old man that used to say back in my day you would only storm the court when an unranked beat a ranked team. I'm not even going to do that. I'm not, you're in college, have fun. I was surprised that she was still in flop, try and draw a foul mode after the game is done and you've lost, because personally, very competitive, don't take losing very well. I would have been looking for any excuse for somebody to have done something to me that maybe I shove a little shoulder into you, or maybe I get to push a fan, or maybe hey, they were up in my space. That's the mood I would have been in after losing a game. But she was still trying to draw a foul. She spun around.
A sympathy flop into a fan after a loss is crazy. It's crazy.
Threw her hands up and spun around. I was like, do you think you're going to get free throws out of that? What are you
I'm mad at myself. Doing? I'm mad at myself for even titling this thing the way I did, because she really extended her arms out and hit this fan. Yeah. She hit this fan. That's so crazy.
And she was moving. The speed at which she was moving off the court, I don't know. I get it. You don't want to be in the pileup, but all her other teammates are jogging to get out of there. She is flying. She was moving so fast to get out of there.
I'm surprised I haven't seen the Instagram meme and they put her and Mike McDaniels the way he runs off at halftime.
Run away from the camera.
side by side yet. Okay, moving on. Next up, crazy story. DeAndre Ayton stuck in his house because of the ice in his neighborhood, and he got exempt and missed a game. Have you ever heard anything like this?
No, it's the wildest thing. It was reported on so heavily because it's just so unheard of, a player being trapped somewhere and can't get to the game, especially juxtaposed to Buffalo sending teams of people to go dig their players out of the snow, or go get snowmobiles, go do whatever you have to do. So no, I heard that and was just DeAndre Ayton is already this guy who has this reputation of does he really care? Is he really that into it? I'm that it feels like maybe they're trying to just play into that a little bit. But
they sent people.
They sent a crew. They did. They sent a crew, right? And they couldn't get to him. Which, I don't know. And I heard some of the players were you couldn't just walk out past to where the ice was to where somebody could get to you. And apparently the way it was being described was no, impossible.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen. So I was like, I need to see, like, I don't know. Like, I didn't realize it got that bad in Portland, to be honest.
Oh, man. Crazy story, crazy story. Next up, we have Joel Embiid dropping 70 points and 18 rebounds. And Cat dropping 62 points, all on the night anniversary of Kobe dropping 81. How do you feel about this?
R.I.P. Kobe. Joel Embiid, the Spurs tried this interesting strategy of like, yo, don't double team him. Let him do whatever he wants. And it didn't work, clearly. Scored 70, could have scored more. It was odd. It was just like, I've never seen 4 quarters of don't double the most dominant player potentially in the league. I've never seen that before. Karl-Anthony Towns was out there going for it. Like, I feel like Joel Embiid it was kind of within the flow of, oh, they're not going to double me, I'm going to keep going to work.
Yep.
Karl-Anthony Towns was out there going for like as many points as he could possibly get. And the team was like, yeah, let's roll with that. Let's play into it. I think it's great that it was on the anniversary of. I feel like there's starting to be a devalue of, or like the value of these big scoring nights is starting to feel less significant when Karl-Anthony Towns is doing it, but I don't want to sound like a hater.
You do. You sound like the coach. Did you hear the coach? Do you think the coach is hating by his statements after the game, saying they disrespected the game because they were feeding him the ball?
It's odd that the coach of his own team would say that, like, publicly. I thought those were odd comments. Like, I never was a fan of you disrespecting the game by letting one person try and go for a scoring record or get theirs or whatever, because the onus is on the other team to not allow, don't let this other team just keep feeding this one guy the ball. Like, stop him from scoring. If they want to feed it to him every time down, I don't see how that's disrespecting the game. I feel like that's smart if they can't stop it.
That's hate. Next up, interesting story. We have NFL player Kobe Turner sings national anthem at the LA Kings hockey game, and he does a special rendition, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. Like, I don't know what it is about seeing guys who have multiple elite talents. I hate on it a little bit because, like, I did play in the NFL, but it's always been one thing, just like, bro, how you in the NFL and you could sing? Like, that's elite.
That's impressive. I feel like Flavor Flav, and he can't. Flavor Flav started this trend of like, are you a good singer? Are you not? It don't matter. Do you want to sing the national anthem? Come on down. So yeah, to your point, he does seem to have a pretty good voice. There's just too much talent, right? Like, you can't be good at all those things. Save some for somebody else.
Definitely. Next up, we don't talk NFL a lot, so we have a segment called NFL One Hitter. You get to take a hit and talk about maybe what your favorite NFL moment from this past week. We had a unbelievable playoff weekend, and we have an unbelievable championship weekend coming up also. What's your one hitter for this week?
My one hitter for this week is to take this time to remind everyone that it was not 3.5 months ago that half the NFL didn't want 2-time league MVP, potential Super Bowl quarterback Lamar Jackson. Just loudly didn't want him. Never seen anything like teams coming out to unasked, uninterviewed. No one was asking these questions, just loudly issuing statements. We don't want the MVP of the league. Don't want him. Like Falcons, didn't want him. All these teams just didn't want him. He is a game away from the Super Bowl. He's going to win the MVP this year. He's going to be a 2-time MVP. Even the Ravens, I want to give them credit, but even they were like, if anybody wants him in a trade, y'all can have him.
That is
I
true.
just think it's insane, right? I just think it's crazy. So I just want to remind everyone that guy, that's the guy that none of y'all wanted. The arguable best single player in the league. You guys, outside of maybe Patrick Mahomes, you guys were like, I don't want him.
And it's crazy just you bringing that up. And it's not that I don't think these owners didn't want him. I don't think these owners wanted to set a precedent to guys going at it the way Lamar did without an agent, like saying, hey, I can do this and I'm worth this much. Give me this. I have the receipts to show. And I think that was intimidating for owners, and they were like, you know what, like we're not down to be the first ones to open up Pandora's box.
The guarantee was a big part of it, but I guess I took issue with that because that you already opened that box. You gave the nastiest man in the league the guarantee contract.
Ooh.
So when Lamar came the next
So
year
true.
and was like, so I haven't done anything and I'm better than him, I would also like a guarantee contract. The fact that the whole league was like, we're going to put our foot down right now. No guarantee contracts for these guys. I understand that. At the same time, some people should be fired for just actively deciding, not even pursuing him. Just the idea that they're just like not even interested. Like people will kick the tires on any of these quarterbacks. They'll pull Joe Flacco off the couch, but trading and potentially paying Lamar Jackson was a bridge too far. So I just think that's worth pointing out, as he is potentially a game away from going to the Super Bowl.
That is definitely a good one hitter. And my one hitter was, even though the game, the Ravens versus the Texans, the score makes it seem like it wasn't an exciting and close game, and I think it was definitely closer than it was. But I was excited to see, following MLK week, seeing two black quarterbacks battle in the playoffs, and the thought that CJ Stroud just being like having a very, very solid first year and really looking like he can be an elite quarterback.
Better than solid.
Yeah, I know. And we have a lot of young guys, even like Anthony Richardson, he got hurt. He was playing well. Like we have a lot of young quarterbacks who are in the league that it's going to be exciting to see them for years to come. And like NFL is always exciting because of the next draft class and what have you done for me lately. Guys come in and out of the league, and you only get one rookie season. And for him to have the season that he did at quarterback with a rookie coach, I think is very, very, very impressive. And someone had to lose. He lost to the best. So I think, and just him overcoming like what they overcame throughout the whole year with injuries, Tank Dell emerging, like
he's throwing to Nico Collins, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's exciting to think that, hey, when all these teams get these guys back all healthy again, it just starts all over again. That the NFL it's the best reality TV, whatever you can think of, just at all levels. So I'm excited for years to come. But I'm going to take another hit, even though it's one hitter.
It's okay. Sometimes I hit twice.
I'm also sad that, unfortunately, there's only 3 more games of NFL left.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, this weekend, who you going with this weekend and why?
So we'll go NFC first, because I think that one's a little bit easier. Well, maybe not. If Deebo Samuel doesn't play, I think it's a little more interesting. Lions, 49ers. I know Lions have kind of become new America's team, right? Dallas has kind of lost that, and I feel like the Lions have now taken that. It's a great story. Part of me is just like, I'm sad Calvin Johnson wasn't on a team like this that could have done this, because I love Calvin Johnson. Yeah. But it's cool to see. I will probably go 49ers NFC. I just think, let's assume Deebo Samuel plays. If he doesn't, it could be a closer game. But I just think defensively, what they're going to be able to do to Detroit is going to be too much to then ultimately ask Jared Goff to overcome. I think this might be the game where 49ers make Jared Goff the reason that, like, he's been playing very well. But they're going to be like, Jared Goff beat us. Like, just Jared Goff. So I'll take the 49ers there. AFC is tough. I would be happy with either one. I love that we're getting Lamar and Mahomes, but I've been saying since 2019, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen. He's Michael Jordan playing football. I couldn't believe they were underdogs last week. They're going to be underdogs this week. I get it. I will probably lean Chiefs just because until I see Patrick Mahomes he's been at AFC Championship every year, been in the Super Bowl half that time. I'm just going to keep rolling with that until he's not. Like, and of course, Lamar and Ravens are probably better top to bottom, and they could be the team that can, make Kansas City have to take deep shots to receivers they don't have. But until I see Patrick Mahomes like truly vanquished, I'm picking Patrick Mahomes every time.
Wow!
Every time.
So you're not going with the script. You're not going with the script.
I picked the Ravens. I saw the color thing, right? I picked the Ravens to start the season. I had a dream before the season started that felt like a premonition even, that I saw a Ravens Super Bowl. So, like, I'm going against all of that. So I could be made to look really wrong, but I'm just going to ride with Mahomes.
What's the Game of Thrones kid's name? Bran?
I'm Bran. Bran Stark. I could see things that happen in the future and in the past. So I saw it, and now I'm going against my premonition, but I'm cool being wrong on the Mahomes side until I'm not, right? I will go down with the Mahomes ship.
I'm cool with being wrong just in general, and I want to put it out there that I am going with the script, and I'm going Ravens and 49ers win this weekend. And like you just said, and we're saying, I'm okay with being absolutely wrong on both these games. I think the 4 best teams right now are in the spots that they should be, and whatever Super Bowl that we potentially get, I think is going to be an exciting one, like one way or another.
If the Lions get into the Super Bowl, we have to, like,
what
Eminem has to. I know Usher and Eminem have no crossover, but we somehow got to get Eminem back on that stage, right? Or instead of the national anthem, he has to do "Lose Yourself" to start the game.
No, he needs to walk them out. Like,
to lose yourself. They need to come out to lose yourself out the tunnel.
And then he could promote Mom Spaghetti. Like, knees weak.
So partly now I'm actually rooting for the Lions because I want to see what involvement we could get. Because if it's Eminem on one side and Taylor Swift on the other, oh my goodness. White America's going to go crazy. So...
They're going to go ape shit. And then the memes right now, the Eminem and 8 Mile meme, Jared Goff and the Lions pulling up to the championship.
Oh, when they're in the car.
Yes, when they're in the car. I don't know why that meme just makes me giggle, but it definitely is just... Yeah, and he did retweet it.
He's like, oh, I like that.
I
might be rooting for the Lions now. I might have just talked myself out of... I might want Lions Chiefs now for the Eminem Taylor Swift off.
Oh, man. That was great. That is great. Eminem and Taylor Swift. The Swifties versus, I don't even know what, it's the Stans.
The Stans. He's the original Stan.
He's the original Stan. Stans versus the Swifties is a fire Super Bowl fan battle. And I think with that, we can end the show. Bro, I appreciate you so much for coming last minute.
Thank you for having me, man.
We definitely have to do this again. And when the Butter King is back, we'll definitely try to get a show together with all 3 of us. But we definitely will be hitting you up to follow up on some of this Florida State stuff and some of this college football. And plug your podcast again so everyone can make sure they go and follow you as well.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me anytime. S.P. and Ross is Untitled College Football Podcast. Just type in Untitled College Football wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out. We'll be going all off season. There's always stuff to talk about in college football, so we're year round. But yeah, thank you for having me, bro. Anytime.
Yep. And guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and follow Fax The King on all social media platforms. And appreciate you and see you guys next week.